Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos from the PJC Sanctuary, the outdoor space that we are infusing with spirituality. It was a beautiful Shabbos last Shabbos, Shabbos Bereishis. We started off strong. So many people who joined us over Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur made the choice to join us in Shabbos Bereishis, and it was so meaningful, so inspiring to me personally to see everyone here. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope we continue to have the opportunity to be mechazik one another, to strengthen one another, and to maintain and use this space as a dignified sanctuary for spirituality. Parshat Noach is this Shabbos. Noach is a complicated, a challenging, an important figure, a very realistic personality. We often look to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron. We look to those personalities and they feel out of reach. They feel superhuman. Noach is the most human of all the biblical personalities, because in certain aspects he's deeply underwhelming, and in certain aspects we are told that he is so impressive, he is righteous. There is a tension around Noach that is confusing and attractive and complex and deeply human. In the first pasuk in the Torah, first pasuk in the Parsha, Noach's name is mentioned 3 times. And our sages tell us that his name is mentioned 3 times because we know 3 different types of Noach. We know Noach before the flood, we know Noach in the Teva, in the ark, and we know Noach post-deluge, we know Noach after he comes out of the ark. 3 different approaches, informed by his experience, informed by the challenges and the opportunity and the instruction he receives. We see 3 different Noachs in our Parsha. And we have to consider how the Noach before the flood, during the flood, and after the flood approaches the challenges, the opportunities, and sometimes the disappointments. I feel like our lives right now relate to one Noach in particular. And that's the Noach of the flood. Noach when he's inside the Teva. Noach does not have the freedom to interact with who he wants to. He has to build solid walls. He has to build solid boundaries. He has to take care of his own needs and the needs of those he's responsible for first and primarily. He can't be concerned for anyone else because God told him that's not his mission. It's too late for that. We, in the midst of this crazy experience, this overwhelming experience at times, this daunting idea, we can relate to the values, to the approach, to the struggle of Noach on the Teva, constantly feeding the animals, constantly taking care of all the needs that need to be taken care of. We too live this lives now where we try to figure out how to bring meaning for our families, how to bring safety for our families, how to bring sustenance for our families during these difficult and challenging times. The Noach of the Teva is a Noach that we relate to. It's a Noach that is most closely aligned to the experience that we live now. And so is there anything in his behavior that should inspire us or guide us as to how we should view the future, how we should approach whatever is coming next? Noach is on the Teva for a long time, and the ark comes to a rest, and he wants to know, is it safe? Is it safe to go out? Is it safe to open his door to the ark? God closes the door. Noach is the one who determines when to open the door of the ark. What does Noach do? He opens a tiny little window, and he sets out a messenger to go and scout out the land and to bring back signs of life, to bring back signs of recovery. And he makes a choice. He chooses the raven. The Gemara tells us that this choice was difficult. The Gemara tells us something very strange. The raven and Noach have a conversation, have a discussion. The raven says to Noach, there's only 2 ravens on the Teva, only 2 ravens on the ark. Go take one of the pure animals, that there's 7 of the species. Why are you sending me? And the raven's mind goes to a very confusing and dark place, and he says, Noach, you're sending me out because you desire my wife, because you desire to take her from me. And Noach says, you're the animal that I want to go and scout out the land. Your cynical, negative view on motivations is appropriate because the world was so cynical. The world was so corrupt. I need someone with a sharp, cynical eye to tell me, is it safe outside? And that mission fails. The raven never leaves the teva. He flies over the ark because he's too worried about himself. He's too worried about his own needs. When you're looking to the future, when you're looking to figure out what's next, when you're looking to figure out where are we heading, when will it be safe, when will we enter a comfort zone where we can interact freely with each other, where we can be together freely without restraints, without restriction. You can't send out the cynical bird to look for those messages. You can't look at the world, even though it's so easy to these days, look at the world cynically and helplessly without hope and say, oh, and I'm guilty of this. This happens so often. It's so easy to say, I can't do this. And so Noach takes a week to think about what will need to be true to get off this ark. And he goes to the dove who represents hope, the dove who has a driving mission, who will in the future, because of Noach's act, represent peace in the world. And he sends out the dove and he says, dove, do your work. And what does the dove do? The dove brings back an olive branch, brings back a message to Noach. And then he sends the dove out again, and the dove never comes back because the dove has found his new home. When you have the perspective of the dove, who's seeking opportunity, who's seeking the olive branch, who's seeking a place to build a home and an environment to connect and bring hope to others. The dove understood his mission was not to be cynical and not to be accusatory and not to be negative. His mission, his purpose was to bring hope to Noach, who had witnessed the destruction of the world and could feel helpless, but to bring hope to Noach. And the dove lives up to that mission. What will get us forward, what will get us through this, is helping and connecting with each other, is understanding thoughtfully and deliberately what the needs of another person are. Last week's Parsha, when humanity was created, God said human beings are created b'tselem Elokim, in the image of God. We were created in the image of God. This week, again, we are told that humanity is created b'tselem Elokim, but it's not about us. The Torah says, God says to Noach, thou shalt not murder anyone because they are created b'tselem Elokim. The idea of living in the image of God, living in the shadow of God, living defined by the values that God asks us to live by, is recognizing the Tselem Elokim in someone else and connecting with someone else, servicing their needs, taking care of what they need, just like the dove recognized that Noach needed a message of hope and not a message of cynicism. Please God, Emir Tzah Hashem, will use these months ahead as all of our needs shift and change, like the weather will be shifting and changing. Although this Shabbos should be beautiful, even though it's raining, because it will rain because it's Parshat Noach. It'll be warm, it'll be temperate. Join us if you can and if you're comfortable. As things shift in the coming weeks, let's define ourselves like the dove who looks at Noach and says, what does he need? What message, what tools does he need to have hope in the future? Let's seek and find the Tselem Elokim, the divine image in others, so we can know the Tselem Elokim in ourselves. Wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom, a good and meaningful and safe Shabbos.